good afternoon, and on behalf of the 57th President of the United States Naval War College, Rear Admiral Shoshana S. Chatfield, welcome to the graduation ceremony for the March class of 2021. I'm Captain Dieterle, Dean of Students, and your MC for today's ceremony. The national anthem will be sung by musician second class Rachel Vanell from Navy Band Northeast.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
Commander James Dance, Executive Officer of the Naval Chaplaincy School and Center, will deliver the invocation.
O Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Let us pray. Truly, God, we're thankful that from time to time you permit the routine segments of our lives to be punctuated by ceremonies and celebrations. On this particular occasion, during this peculiar season of a pandemic, you have still made it possible for us to assemble by way of a virtual platform, to celebrate this milestone achievement and your faithfulness and the form of graduation. Bless both the instructors and those who have been instructed. I pray they have been properly prepared and newly inspired to do the work that has been assigned to their hands. Lord God, let us not waste a single minute of our time together lamenting over anything that will prevent us from taking full advantage of this precious opportunity we have been granted to reflect and rejoice. May our corporate spirit be lifted as we consider the many ways that you have blessed and enriched their lives as the result of the bonds they have developed with their instructors and with each other. May they depart from this place newly inspired and reinvigorated to do the work that has been called that has been assigned to their hands. And as we consider the many challenges that we are facing both as a nation and as a people, may we still know that you are with us. We ask these things in all of our blessings. In your most holy name we do pray. Amen.
Several years ago, we began a tradition at the U.S. Naval War College of allowing the graduating student body to nominate their guest speaker from among all the talented professionals at the college. I would like to ask graduating student, Lieutenant Commander Michael Gartner, to introduce your faculty guest speaker. Mike?
Thank you, ma'am. I have the opportunity to introduce our faculty guest speaker today, Colonel Ryan Hill. When Captain Dieterle asked for recommendations for a faculty guest speaker, Colonel Hill immediately came to mind. I was fortunate to be in one of his leadership in the profession of arms seminars in the fall, and his dedication to the profession and his students was evident throughout the course. He used his professional discretion to shape the course and the content to best help and develop us. I greatly appreciated his thoughtfulness, honesty, and wisdom, and respected how he not only talked about humility, was a great example of a humble leader. I learned much that I will carry forward into future assignments, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been in this class. Colonel Hill is a 1999 graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy and a command pilot with over 2,600 hours in the A-10 and A-29. He has combat experience as a battalion air liaison officer with the 82nd Airborne Division and as an A-10 pilot. He also graduated from the Army School of Advanced Military Studies and the Naval War College. He has served as the lead operational planner on the Combined Force Command Staff in Korea, and his most recent assignment was as the commander of the 81st Fighter Squadron at Moody Air Force Base in Georgia. Colonel Hill joined the faculty at the Naval War College in 2019 as part of the College of Leadership and Ethics. And talking with some of my fellow classmates, I know many others have benefited from his leadership, his insights, and his example. It's my pleasure to introduce Colonel Hill as our selected graduation speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Ryan Hill. Sir, the mic's yours.
Thank you, Mike. That's awesome. It's good to see you again, and I appreciate the introduction. Congratulations, graduates. You are the first class, at least that I know of, that has gone through the entire Naval War College in-residence curriculum virtually. And for that, you are to be virtually congratulated. And I can see virtual congratulations coming in, and that's awesome. I have to say that I'm extremely honored and quite frankly, somewhat overwhelmed by the opportunity to be your commencement speaker today. And so I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. I'd first like to address your families, and I see several families out there. I know this has been a strange year, and it's taken an extra measure of patience and endurance this year. As students have worked and studied from home, they've taken up space, they've taken up bandwidth. At times they've been home, but at the same time not been home. We recognize that it hasn't been easy, but just by virtue of being here at this culminating ceremony today, it demonstrates that we have indeed persevered. And I just want to thank you for your role in making that happen. Graduates, we realize that this probably isn't the year that you anticipated. It's probably not what you bargained for. But in spite of all the strangeness and hardships that you may have endured this year, I hope that it has been a rewarding year. I hope it's been a year that you'll look on back on with fondness. And I hope you've had the opportunity and taken the opportunity this year to reflect on your past experiences, maybe look at them in a new light, as well as an opportunity to pack your intellectual suitcase and prepare for the journey ahead. As I was preparing for today, I did some reflecting of my own and tried to practice what I preach and exercise some empathy, some cognitive empathy, put myself in your shoes and think, if I'm about to head out the door right now, what leadership challenges are we facing? And as I looked at that, I thought, it reminded me of a story. And this is one that I shared with students as a kind of an illustration. It's a true story. So if you've heard it before, please bear with me. But when COVID first kicked off, remember that back when we thought it was just going to last a month or two? When COVID first kicked off, we were all confined to our homes, and I don't know about your family, but we got a little stir crazy. So we started going on walks on a regular basis. And one afternoon when the weather started getting a little better, my daughter and I went out. She was 12 at the time, and we took our dog, her dog, out on a walk. This little 13-pound white fluffy thing, right? And so when we go out, the dog's extremely excited anytime she gets to go on a walk, whether it's one time a day or 5. And so she's out there leading the way. And she walks down the street out in front of us. But every time she gets to a fork in the road or an intersection, she sort of starts slowing her roll a little bit, a little less confidence, and kind of looks over her shoulder at us, right? Like, which way do I go here? Do I go left or right? Well, I pointed that out to my daughter, and she said something I thought was pretty remarkable. In reference to the dog, she said, I think she likes to be out front, but I don't think she wants to lead. Now, I wouldn't accuse anybody out there in this graduating class of having that mentality, but I tell you, it kind of resonated with me a little bit. If I'm honest with myself, I think that, in leadership positions and as an officer, there are times when leading is fun. There are times when it's extremely rewarding, but there are also some times when it is stinking hard. There are some times when it has been more of a burden than a blessing. And I feel like we've probably all had those times. Leadership is always challenging, but I think that some challenges push us beyond our normal way of thinking. And so in the next few minutes that have been allotted to me here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to lay out what I think are three of the greatest leadership challenges for us today. And then also propose some possible approaches or ways of thinking to help us meet those challenges. The first is the first challenge that I think that we're up against is maintaining public trust. Maintaining public trust. We're members of a profession, and the only way that we can operate effectively as a profession is to maintain that trust of the nation. And trust is not a given. There's been times in our history when we haven't had it. We have for a very long time now, and that's been great. But it's something that we have to continually work to earn and to keep. I don't think we've lost it. I'm not saying we need to regain it, but I certainly think that it is something that we could lose, and I think we need to acknowledge that. And quite frankly, I feel like sometimes that we might be on a pretty bad vector. You know, if we step back and look, we've been battling for a long time sexual harassment and sexual assault. There's studies that have come out recently that have called to our attention that we have serious problems with racism and extremism in the force. There's been cheating scandals at our academies, even outside of our academies, and we continue to have serious breaches of ethics and morals by senior leaders where they've abused their power and their position. When this happens, it's a strike against us and our credibility, right? And I know this isn't baseball. I don't know how many strikes we get before we lose the moral high ground, but I do feel like it's something that we need to think about, and we need to consider. So what do we do? I propose that one way of thinking about this is that first and foremost, we think ethically. This is more than about doing the right thing. It's about being ethical. Sometimes we look at those that mess up, and I've seen this in my classes as we bring these things up, and we think, and I've heard this, and quite frankly, I think it's true, that sometimes these are just bad people, and somehow we got them promoted, and it finally caught up with them, right? They messed up. We shouldn't have ever promoted them. And that's probably true. That's probably true. But I'm afraid that when we look at things that way, we can absolve ourselves of any responsibility or any possibility that we could mess up in the future, right? That we think that we're good people, and so that's not something that we need to worry about, and that can bring about complacency. And when we're complacent, we tend to rest on just moral platitudes instead of doing the hard work of ethics. And what do I mean by that? Professor Pauline Shanks-Curran, she's the Stockdale Chair of Ethics here at the Naval War College and a friend, and she wrote an article that we were at least supposed to have read during the leadership class that outlines the difference between morals and ethics. And she says that morals are those statements about right and wrong. You could even think about our core values to a degree as being morals. Ethics, on the other hand, are the underpinnings. They're the beliefs, the philosophy. If you think about it this way, they're the why of our moral statements. And morals, without the underpinning of ethics, they may not be able to withstand the moment of trial. If we rely on moral standards, like our core values, without embracing what lies below the surface, the ethics that support them, we may be tempted to rationalize them when they're inconvenient for us. When we can't afford to make moral issues into like checklist items that we just check off. Was this moral? Yes or no? Right? We can't afford to do that. Instead, our ethical beliefs should be so infused in the way that we think that they become foundational to all the decisions that we make. To maintain the trust of the American public and to work effectively as professionals, we need to think deeply and become comfortable with the ethics that underlie the morals. We need to understand why things are right or wrong as part of our being and not just of our doing. We need to think ethically. The second major challenge that I see is that we face growing complexity. Now, a lot of people out there would say that the world is no more complex now than it's ever been, and I think there's probably an element of truth in that. Sometimes we look at the past and we harken back to simpler times, perhaps, right? I don't know how World War II generals and admirals would feel about us saying that, but certainly we tend to look at the past more rosy. But let me explain what I mean by complexity, by comparing open and closed systems. Right? In a closed system, like a scientific experiment, we would create a vacuum where we don't allow outside variables to affect our experiment, right? So what we try to do in closed systems, we isolate variables. So we can change that one thing and we get a reliable, predictable outcome. If we change that variable, we still get a reliable and predictable outcome. But if we open the system, right, and allow other things in, now we have a variety of variables. And so by changing one, we may not necessarily get that reliable, predictable outcome. And the more open a system becomes, the more ambiguity there is, the more or the less reliable, the less predictable it becomes. And now if you think about open systems interacting with other open systems, you can see that it gets pretty complex. And I can't help but believe in this day of globalization, where we have mass media and social media, that everything is just a little bit more connected, right? Everything's more interdependent. And because of that, we have more open systems interacting at a larger scale with other open systems. And to a degree, it just becomes infinitely complex. That's the environment that we're operating in. And I think as a decision maker and as a leader, that can be daunting. So what do we do about it? This may not be intuitive, but I think the answer is that we need to think inclusively. We need to think inclusively. Sometimes we get this idea that as leaders, everything's on our shoulders, right? Now, there is some truth to that. Responsibility-wise, things are on our shoulders. But we also have this feeling that everybody's looking at us to make a decision. Like, we have all the answers. We are all knowing. And we have this Clausewitzian sense of coup d'oeil, right? Like that we can, at a glance, see the entire battlefield and know what to do. Well, I hope this doesn't come as a surprise to anyone, but you don't know everything, right? We don't know everything. We can't. But even if we did, even if we had all the information required to make a decision, we're still limited in our perspective. We're still limited in the way that we process information. So what can we do about that? Well, thinking inclusively, first of all, means that we have a diverse team. And we hear a lot about this, right? That we need a diverse team. And fellow professor Gene Anderson uses a quote from Patton. And Patton says that if everybody's thinking the same, then nobody's thinking, right? So we need to have a team and surround ourselves with people who think differently, who can challenge our ideas, challenge our assumptions, think in different ways, bring up things that we never would have dreamed of in the first place, right? We need that. But we have to go beyond there. Having a diverse team is only the beginning, right? From there, we need to have the humility to be able to set aside our own ideas, their own perspectives, and to be able to see those of others, right? To actually step into their shoes and see what they see, and listen to them, not in order to refute them, not in order to even humor them, but to actually understand. And if we do that, not only will we create a more cohesive team full of people who understand that they belong there and that they make a difference, right, and that they're appreciated, but at the same time, we'll grow our own understanding. We'll grow our own perspectives. We can see problems more clearly and more nuanced, and we'll have a greater number of options with which to attack those problems. See, we can come against the complexity of open systems in the environment if we become mentally complex by opening our minds to be able to take in and see other perspectives, right? If we think inclusively. The third challenge I think that's out there that we all face is one that's probably been highlighted to you quite a bit this year. And that's that we're entering or re-entering an era of great power competition. Our relative position as the sole superpower in the world is changing. There are other nations that are reaching parity with us in several different areas. Secretary Mattis stated that America's military strength is not a birthright. In the context of that statement, what he was really talking about was investing in more weapon systems, investing in more technology, and I think we're absolutely right to do so. However, I think that going forward, we're not going to gain any significant asymmetric advantage simply by overwhelming military might. If we are to keep our asymmetric advantage, it's going to be in our ability to outthink our enemies. We need to be thinking about how do we use that new technology. We need to be thinking along the lines not of just how do we stay ahead in the game or how do we win the game, but how do we change the game? And we're not going to find those answers with linear thinking, with normal analysis, right? We can't trust the slow iterations and steady evolution of the status quo, the tit for tat back and forth, right? The reactionary mindset. Instead, we have to think creatively. We have to think creatively. We need to push back against the assumptions that have us hemmed in to certain ways of thinking and certain processes. We need to reimagine what is possible. We need to combine the thoughts and the principles that are out there in new and novel ways to create opportunities where previously there weren't any. Now, we work in a bureaucracy. Bureaucracies are made to maintain the status quo. And these processes inside of a bureaucracy are good at times, right? But at other times they may not be. You know, if we think about it, sometimes we're so intent that a process is the right process that it becomes the end in itself. We think that we have to adhere to that process, and we lose sight of the goal altogether, and we just pay attention to the process. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to be in a reactionary state, just constantly solving problems. We have to think creatively, seeking opportunities, and leading the way. I've listed 3 challenges here. And there's no doubt that when you leave here and go back out to the fleet, into the field, you're going to face these challenges along with several others. And as officers, we're all leaders. Whether we're in command positions or not, we're all leaders. And sometimes leadership is fun and it's rewarding. But there are some times when leadership is going to be challenging, right? And sometimes we're going to come to a fork in the road, and it's going to challenge the way that we think. Over 150 years ago, President Lincoln said that when we face new challenges, we need to think anew. We need to act anew. I think that's as true today as it ever was. And I think if we're able to do that, then we'll prove ourselves worthy of leading America's sons and daughters. And we'll rise to the challenges that are before us. I thank you once again for the honor and the privilege of being able to speak to you today. And congratulations once again to you and your families for not only persevering, but excelling during this difficult time. We wish you all the best. God bless, take care, and lead well.
Colonel Hill, on behalf of the students, staff, and faculty, I thank you for your comments and your ongoing contributions and service to our country. For each graduating class, one student is selected for recognition as the President's Honor Graduate. Recipients of this award are chosen based on their outstanding achievement across a spectrum of disciplines, including academic performance, participation in Naval War College activities, participation in civic and community activities, and promotion of armed services in the public interest. For the College of Naval Warfare, the honor graduate for the March 2021 graduating class is Commander Eric Halberson, United States Navy. Commander Halberson finished number 1 of 17. He was the academic rep for JMO Seminar. A member of the Halsey Bravo Advanced Research Project, he developed an access database that can quickly and accurately import, format, and export orders of battle to be used for wargaming. The database will save the faculty hundreds of hours of manual data entry and improves the accuracy of the products, directly contributing to wargame result recommendations. He is a Cub Scout Den leader for Pack 77. An active mentor, he assisted aviators in preparing for their command board, as well as provided expertise on record management. Along with the certificate, he's receiving an engraved Weems and Plath compass from the Naval War College Foundation. We'll now give Commander Halberson a few moments to address his fellow graduates and classmates. Eric?
Well, thank you, ma'am. Admiral Chatfield, distinguished faculty and staff, fellow students, and honored guests. I'm truly humbled to be selected as the College of Naval Warfare honor grad. So thank you very much for this prestigious designation. The world looks a lot different now than it did when we checked in. And over the past years, we faced many unexpected challenges. We quickly switched to distance learning and had to Zoom from our basements, closets, dining rooms, and cars. We had to remain focused while reading thousands of pages, writing papers, and taking exams, all from home, while balancing the needs of our families. Yet despite the chaos of the last year, we've completed this demanding program and stand ready for the next challenge. So congrats on the achievement and of this significant goal. And thank you for keeping seminar interesting and enjoyable despite the distance. Thank you also to the professors for the feedback and guidance throughout the year. Thank you to Bill, Steve, Dan, and all the Halsey Bravo students. This past semester on the White Cell was the highlight of my time here at the Naval War College. So thank you again for an amazing program. And finally, my most sincere thank you to the support systems that enabled all of us to focus our attention on this opportunity. We all know deployments are hard, but this year we also discovered that it could be challenging to be so close physically, yet far away mentally, as we conducted our seminars, wrote our papers, and did our reading. So thank you to all the spouses and family members for their continued support and sacrifice. Thank you specifically to my wife, Kate, for everything you do for our family. Congrats again to all the graduates. Stay safe, stay in touch, and I'll see you in the fleet.
Thank you, Eric. For the College of Naval Command and Staff, the honor graduate for the March 2021 graduating class is Lieutenant Commander Christy Morrissey, United States Navy. Lieutenant Commander Morrissey finished number 1 of 36. She was a social representative for TSDM and S&W seminars. She's a member of the Preservation Society of Newport, the Naval War College Foundation, and the First Presbyterian Church of Honolulu. She supported Navy Marine Corps Relief Society and the Military Spouses of Newport Annual Scholarship Fund, and is sponsoring a child through Compassion International. An active mentor, she volunteered to speak with college women interested in joining the Navy and administered an unofficial social media group for junior officers comprised of more than 14,000 members. Along with the certificate, she is receiving an engraved Weems and Plath compass from the Naval War College Foundation. We'll now give Lieutenant Commander Morrissey a few moments to address her fellow graduates and classmates. Christy?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In typical Naval War College fashion, I was up all night and just finished running this speech through Grammarly and Turnitin about 2 minutes ago. On behalf of the College of Naval Command and Staff March 2021 graduating class, I'd like to thank all faculty, alumni, family, friends, and guests for being here today. To my classmates, congratulations. We started together, we finished on Zoom. Like many of you, I was thrilled to receive orders to the Naval War College. My dad had attended the winter cohort when I was 4 years old, and I was eager to re-experience Newport through my own grown-up lens. And then COVID hit. This year's been challenging, to say the least. Classmates juggled the difficulties of being both students and teachers as daycares shut down and schools shuttered. Local restaurants closed, forcing many of us to expand our culinary repertoires beyond ramen and frozen pizza. We debated the merits of business casual versus business pajamas via WhatsApp. And I'm sure that much to the chagrin of our newly purchased wardrobes, business pajamas probably won out about 90% of the time. We developed bad online shopping habits, or maybe that was just me. But Sun Tzu once said, in the midst of chaos, there is opportunity. Through the difficulties of a COVID environment, we saw resilience. Our classes shifted online as we and our professors worked towards a new normal. We became close, maybe too close, with our families as we logged in from offices, basements, kitchens, bedrooms, and even laundry rooms. We dealt with pressing issues like, should our cameras be on or off? Does the chat feature on Zoom really add value? I would argue yes. What algorithm does Tim Urban use to select which questions will be answered during the S&W Q&A sessions? Socials and offsites were now held virtually, with bonds forming over memes, inside jokes, and the occasional sharing of relevant news alerts related to national security. We experienced hot mics, camera malfunctions, and unstable internet connections. Yet despite these challenges, we persevered. We read Vago and Clausewitz and Sun Tzu and the GBC and about 1,000 other documents. We learned how to analyze government policymaking and how to navigate difficult civ-mil relations. We debated the ethics and morals of warfighting. We analyzed historical case studies and how lessons learned can apply to modern day conflicts. We developed operational plans for crisis scenarios. We applied our knowledge of the past to develop solutions for the future. And despite our remote learning environment, we managed to grow closer to one another through respectful discussion, dialogue, and debate. I've been told that knowledge has no value unless it is shared. To our professors and moderators, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. The quality and caliber of our faculty and staff is second to none. You challenged us to think outside of our narrow boxes, to grapple with complex issues, and to learn lessons from those who have gone before us. So today, I ask myself, what would Mahan do? Well, first, he'd probably thank his mother. So, to our families and friends, those who sustained us through this journey, proofread our papers, provided emotional support, and picked up oversized burdens of housework so we could study, thank you. We would not be here today without the contributions you provided. And to those in supporting roles within the War College, in the Dean's office, the Writing Center, the library, and so many more departments I've forgotten to name, thank you. You helped make the transition to the online environment seamless. Mahan discusses the value of massing firepower for decisive battles. Here at the War College, we have accrued a trove of intellectual firepower. Now it's time to apply that knowledge. To my classmates, as we depart the academic shelter of Newport for the fleet, force, or field, take with you the lessons you've learned to make clear, bold decisions. You are the strategists who will drive our armed forces into the future, and I am confident that your leadership will guide us well in peacetime and in war. Bravo Zulu on an incredible year, and fair winds and following seas. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Beyond the requirements for graduation, certain individuals have distinguished themselves through academic excellence. A diploma with highest distinction is presented to the top 5% of each graduating class. A diploma with distinction is presented to the next 15% of each graduating class. Rear Admiral Chatfield, I have the honor to present the United States Naval War College March class of 2021. They have been thoroughly examined and approved by the faculty.
Then, by the power vested in me by the Congress of the United States, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the New England Commission of Higher Education, I confer upon you the appropriate degrees and diplomas from the United States Naval War College, with all the honors, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
Congratulations, graduates. It is my honor to present Rear Admiral Chatfield, who will now issue the charge to the graduates. Admiral?
Thank you, Dean Dieterle. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a collective round of applause for all of our graduates. You know, it's just so fantastic to see those names scroll and to really witness that level of achievement in each person's career. What a milestone. I also want to recognize our honored guests today. We have so many wonderful people out there. I've noted that there are 425 people just tuned in to this session and others who will watch it on our YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank you for your interest and for your support for each one of our students this year and now our graduates. I want to also recognize Mr. George Lang, who represents the Naval War College Foundation. In a typical year, you would have each been present at one of the remarkable events hosted by our Naval War College Foundation. But this year, with a lot less recognition, the Naval War College Foundation continued to add to our quality of education and to support our students, our faculty, and our organization. And for that, we are deeply grateful. I want to also recognize our deans, our faculty, and our staff. And you see them on the screen interspersed among the graduates and our families. It was a tremendous year for us. The amount of workload that was performed to transition this institution and our entire curriculum to a different format and to gain the skills necessary to deliver this material and facilitate these sessions in a new way was truly remarkable and worthy of a great mention. I want to also say that those efforts did pay off, and you heard it in the speeches today, and you can see it on the faces of our graduates. They were challenged, they came together, they learned new ways to frame problems, they began to understand perspectives that they didn't arrive with. And so to our faculty, congratulations on a job well done. And now to our families and friends, thank you for being here. I know that many of you would have traveled to Newport, and many of you are glad for the opportunity to see this graduation in the virtual format. I want to say thank you. It has been a challenging year for each person that I'm speaking to today. Everybody has had a change in your life that's been dramatic, and many of us have experienced loss and confusion and deep remorse and sorrow for those losses, people that we know who were affected. And I want to say that as a community, we have come together to find ways to be in community and to try to lessen those deeply emotional events or to give voice to them where appropriate. I know that it's been a challenging year for not just our students and graduates, but for our family and friends, staff and faculty. And I just want to recognize that and tell you how deeply grateful I am that we've come to this point together and we're online together to recognize this particular and significant achievement. And now to the 53 graduates of our spring 2021 class. You know, as it's been said, you came here to Newport with a much different perception of how this year would go. It's been a journey. First of all, just being in the classroom as a full-time job is different than where you came from. So that's a new experience. And then being asked to stretch your mind every day and break out of those old paradigms and go through that learning publicly and even more on the screen. So, you know, those moments were visibly captured many times. And learning publicly is very difficult. It takes an amount of courage and presence to be in the room and to commit yourself in the company of trust of other students to going through that exercise in learning and stretching and changing over time. You've witnessed it in each other and come to appreciate it. And for that, I commend you. You also saw that as people come from different backgrounds, whether that's the job, the culture, the part of the country, the service, whatever difference you brought into the classroom, you learned a vocabulary and a way of speaking to each other that offered respect and offered an ear to hear it and to consider it. And for that, you are well on your way toward the future that we must all interact in. You should be proud of your accomplishments, both individually and as a class. Your year here in Newport is concluding in a very different manner. We're seeing that vaccines are coming into play. We're asking people to get tested regularly, where surveillance testing will be something that many of you in your next assignments will be part of your process. We asked you to convert your homes. We asked you to try new technologies. And every time that you tried a new technology, there was another one right behind it. And that puts you off balance and puts you in a mode where you have to adapt. Whether it was a virtual lecture hall, a virtual research experience, whether it was writing in a different way and learning iteratively to write more succinctly and more powerfully, you accomplished those steps. This year, we also saw that social justice was brought to the forefront of our national dialogue. We saw that there has been a commitment to the universal values of equity, personal freedom, access to prosperity, and fair treatment under the law, and that this is a dialogue that has gone past the borders of the United States and has been taken up around the world. The value of a human being. And that is a powerful concept and one that I ask you to take with you to your next assignments and carry with you through your lives. You have watched me and this staff take on the challenge of very publicly responding to a new event that carried significant risk and the mantle of command, which causes a commander to care for the well-being and the safety of their charges. You saw our senior leadership in every service struggle to make good on their oath of office and to come to terms with their oath of office in their profession of arms, in their moral and ethical guidelines on how they lead. And now it's your turn. Here you learned some of that foundation. You already had some. You learned how to think about foundations and growing and spiraling from foundations. You learned through the stress of disruptions where perseverance would allow you to excel. Your year here has proven that each of you carries the ability to lead in times of uncertainty, and that is perhaps the best preparation for your next assignment and for the remainder of your career. You will be a key enabler in how each of our services and our joint force moves forward. Your continuum of education is like a weapon system. It has to be sourced, it has to be resourced, it has to be maintained, and it has to be updated. This investment in your education is a direct investment in your service capacity and in our collective warfighting advantage. Your charge now, as you prepare to re-enter your operational world, is to commit to the transformative power of education and to link what you've learned to how we fight. You'll be asked to develop strategies You'll be asked to plan. You'll be asked to build winning teams. And this year, as you move on in your careers, will become one part of a toolkit on a continuum of a fantastic career in your service. I ask you, as you move on from this place, never sit comfortably, feeling prepared. Never think that the world has become static and that what you have absolutely is enough, because there's always more in innovation, there's always more in integration, and there's always more if you move to the margins of your understanding and interact with others at the margins of their understanding, to move forward with a different idea, one that will change the game. Take with you what you learned here. Take that different lens to view the challenges that you will inevitably face in the future. Your strengthened intellect, your improved analytical skills, and your expanded perspective to lead well. With that, you will answer the call to provide for the well-being of all the people under your stewardship. You will prove to them every day that each one of them matters in this profession of arms. You will be deserving of the public trust, committed to upholding the structures of stability in our global security environment, and you will be able to defend our nation and fight and win our nation's wars. To you graduates today, you join a large and distinguished group of U.S. Naval War College alumni, a group whose membership spans 137 years. I challenge you to continue the growth and success that you started here at the Naval War College, to cultivate the relationships that you created here. You are all connected and networked in the virtual space. I ask you to join and participate also in our alumni community. Please stay connected with each other and your joint partners, your friends, and other Naval War College alumni. To, again, all of our family and friends here today, I thank you for being your graduates' pillar of strength. You've done so much to support them this year. Thank you so much again for taking time to be here to commemorate this wonderful day, this momentous occasion. You should all be so proud of your graduates. Congratulations to this March 2021 graduating class.
Thank you, Admiral. I would now like to introduce Professor Julia Gage, Director of Alumni Programs.
Now I can unmute. Thanks for your patience. And welcome to the Alumni Network. I know that this is a year that none of us will ever forget, but I can tell you this is education you will always remember. And so, as the Admiral more eloquently put, we are here to support your lifelong learning and your professional development, and your toolbox can be found at myusnwc.com. And so I invite you to join your very large winning team of alumni who are here to support you. And now that you're part of it, we hope that you will support all of your fellow alumni. We also have some exclusive resources for you, some lectures of opportunity, so you can continue to keep up to date with those, educational materials, exclusive events, and as I mentioned, that alumni community. And when you join, you will see that over 80% of our members of the community have signed up to be either a mentor, someone who will meet over, we would think now, a virtual cup of coffee, and many other ways that we can support each other. And so again, I invite you to join all of us and all of your fellow alumni on myusnwc.com. And on behalf of 50,000 alumni who are here to help you remember this educational experience, I congratulate you and welcome you and good luck.
Commander Dance will now deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. Eternal God, as we prepare to depart from this place, but never from your presence, we once again offer our prayers and congratulations for this graduating class. As we consider all they have achieved during this season of rigorous study and examination, we have great confidence in them and in you that their best is still yet to come. Bless them and their families as they endeavor to pen the next chapter of their lives together and embark upon the adventure of their next assignments. And bless us all as we seek to live and serve in a manner that is pleasing unto you. We ask these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for joining us.